billboards to drive.
All right. We think that there's about 1,000 people here. Kevin, tell us what you've been hearing today.
Well, so far this morning, it seems like, probably if we're talking about Freedom Plaza here where we're at right now, we should check in with John Walker because he's been down here for a couple hours. And so the crowds build up in the last couple hours.
Yeah, I showed up at about 9:30 this morning, and there was a good crowd, several hundred. It's grown throughout the day. The focus has been heavily on the war, which was the intention of this Stop the Machine. But there are people from all sorts of groups, single-payer health care, economic justice, Tax Wall Street, people representing the We Are the 99 messaging. But it has been very well attended. I suspect it's easily over 1,000 people at the event so far today, and we will see how it grows in the days and weeks to come.
Yeah. And have you seen people talking about Occupy Wall Street, or I guess maybe how long have people been on the stage talking? Did that just start?
They got on the stage at about 12, a little after 12. Before that, they had a Veterans for Peace march that went from Lafayette Plaza down to here. That was very well attended, but there's obviously been a lot of the energy of the Occupy Wall Street. They've been talking about this as Occupy DC. It was originally more referred to as Stop the Machine, but it's a lot of the same energy, a lot of similar people, the similar issue of corruption in the system. What the American people want, what the 99% of the country wants and needs is not being represented by the people in power. The money is corrupting the system.
Right.
We're at 70% of the country opposes the war and wants to end it, and we're still there fighting. Very interesting crowd. I've been surprised. The anti-war movement really got neutered by the election of Obama and the thought that he was going to bring change, bring an end to the war, and now we're past the 10-year mark in Afghanistan, still fighting, still dropping, $100 billion a year while we're talking about the deficit, which is sort of the ultimate irony that we can find money to build schools and highways and, corrupt bribes in Afghanistan, and yet supposedly we don't have the money for the disaster relief fund after hurricane hits on the East Coast. Right.
So tell us what's happening in Seattle today, and you guys heard some arrests last night?
Well, right. So yesterday, and you can get more details from the dissenter. We have this up in the live blog. And yesterday, it looks like the San Francisco Police Department came in and told the protesters that have been participating in Occupy San Francisco that they had to, they took their tents and they kicked them out. And I think there were a few arrests that were made. Up in Seattle, it was equally hairy because the park rangers came in and it was still light out, so this wasn't nighttime yet. And the park rangers said that they were going to have to get out of there. They started taking down tents, and police officers came in, and there were protesters that refused to actually leave. And the police started physically removing these protesters. And so it's interesting, but these people are still there. And I heard that there were actually even arrests in Chicago with Occupy Chicago, and there where I'm actually based, those people have been out in front of the Federal Reserve, and they had been holding an encampment in front of that Federal Reserve, but the police decided a couple days ago that they were no longer going to be able to stay stationary in one spot, and so now they had to move constantly, 24 hours a day. They couldn't ever take a rest and sleep, and if they wanted to, they had to get vehicles, and the vehicles had to be parked, and all kinds of crap that they had to abide by. And then it looks like now there's so much of a nuisance to the city that the police are picking them up and arresting them. So, we'll keep following this. We'll keep bringing you reports on what's going on with these Occupy USA events. And we're live streaming from Freedom Plaza today. And we'll be talking to people who have come down to this plaza to voice their anger and and have an outlet. And I think what's fascinating to me is, I've done a lot of analysis of how the liberals and Democrats are going to use this energy, and that's one side of this. But there's also a law and order side to this as well, because a lot of people are angry and frustrated. They're working class, poor people who have been spit on and they haven't gotten the sort of respect that they deserve. Their jobs have been taken away. They're being asked to pay. These students that come down here, the student loans, is basically like being saddled with a mortgage. And you have to think, why not just give us the space to actually protest? Why don't you just give us the outlet for our anger? Because a lot of us are still trying to figure out how we're going to make an impact on the system, how we're going to actually get the change we want. So what people are saying when they deploy the police forces on these protesters, these occupiers, is that we're so dangerous to just be out here. Like, our presence is actually hurting the system by us actually being in a square, in a public space. Yeah, so to me it doesn't make sense. Just let us have an outlet, because otherwise it's going to happen in other ways. The riots in London, you really want that to happen, but if you allow people to come out and occupy a space consistently, even hold encampments, you're at least reducing the chance that there's civil unrest in this society. So I think that's something for people to consider, in addition to the electoral politics of how they're going to use the movement.
Right. So let's look and see who's here. Where's your wife? All right. So let's go see if we can find her. So you guys are very concerned. One of the protesters' demands is that jobs stop being offshored. And you guys have been up on the hill because there's a big... Hey, woo! Tarzan 65! How are ya?
Very good.
So these are my fellow arrestees from the Tarzan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have your band still?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I can't wait to know your name.
Yay!
I have to show it to people.
Oh, that is
I'm a steel
so
worker.
cool.
And your live coverage at I watched the live
Kevin.
coverage again.
Oh, that. Yes, yeah.
So it was incredible.
Kevin Goss, Alec
Kevin
Johnson.
Gossola.
Nice to meet you.
We're Facebook friends. I'm Climate Hawk.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So good to see you. You did a great piece recently that the Times referenced. I like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You're Terry Lee's friend too. You're staying at her house,
I
right?
did. I stayed with her when I was an intern at the Nation magazine.
Oh, Kevin, it's an honor to meet you. You're an up-and-coming journalist. You're doing really good.
Thank you.
He's based in her.
Yeah, the next John Nichols, if you want to be flattering and such.
Right, John is here. So.
John is?
This
He's in D.C.
is John Walker.
We just left the Hill fighting the trade agreement. The outsourcing in South Korea, the trade agreement.
Yeah,
They're horrible.
it's the high irony that the Democrats are going to try and pass this off as a jobs bill.
It's nonsense. I mean, it's just nonsense. I mean, I'm an economist, okay? But, I mean, you don't have to be an economist to know that these trade jobs send our jobs overseas. I mean, people in China are happy to work for $80 or $90 a month. Why, I could live for days and days on that kind of a salary. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But the problem is, I think, a targeted event that needs to be cited more is with the Wall Street, or not the Wall Street, the 9/11 Memorial, the Freedom Tower. The bulletproof glass was from China, and the steel in the building was from Germany. And a Pennsylvania steel company bid on the steel contract. That Pennsylvania firm was not unionized. The one in Germany was unionized and received double the wages, and they actually outcompeted the non-unionized firm. And so when we talk about these complexities of unions and shipping jobs overseas, it's just the beneficial cases that you can highlight the benefits of unionization are pushed aside so that we can demonize Solinga or something like that.
Yeah.
So you guys,
Well, we've lost almost 3 million manufacturing jobs in this country, and it isn't that we're not competitive. We're highly productive in this country. It's about multinationals seeking new markets at our expense, and we can't afford as a country to have all the profits moved to the very, very wealthiest and not have a productive capacity as a country. It's time to make make a change on it. This is beautiful. I mean, we may all find little things we disagree about, but one of the things that's most important is people here all are standing together, and there's some big problems that are not being addressed over in the Capitol. I just left the Capitol, and there's going to be a vote on the trade agreements on Tuesday. People need to be paying attention out there and talking to their legislators and standing in front of their offices. We're going to do some things about that.
Absolutely, and I think that the fact that having Obama in office, I was just telling him, is like a bad thing and a good thing. Like, it's a bad thing because it takes a Democratic president to get like the austerity budget that's being pushed through passed, because otherwise if it was pushed by McCain, like the Democrats would try and stand as somewhat spine-filled liberals. But it took Obama to weaken them. I mean, you saw so many packages recently that split the House Democrat vote between the progressive caucus and the ones that like support Obama. So that's the bad part about it. But about the good part is people had so much faith in them that now they see like the best candidate we could have gotten is still a corporate puppet. And so now people are like understanding that better and like coming to these.
It's a teaching moment. This whole thing is a teaching moment. Time to learn.
If you're just joining us, we're here at Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C. for Occupy D.C. This is Jane Hampshire. I'm here with Alex and Tyler, who are my fellow arrestees as part of the Tarzan 65. Dan Choi we woke up this morning because Dan Choi knocked on the door. He goes, I'm back. We're having our trial tomorrow. Who also got arrested? We've got Matt McKinnon here from the Machinists Union, who's been up on the Hill lobbying because they're going to put up a trade, an expansion of NAFTA, 3 separate expansion of NAFTA next week and try to pass them off as jobs bills, even though they'll increase the trade deficit. And I think offshore, 300,000 jobs?
Yeah, I think the South Korea agreement will, I think 159,000 jobs is the low estimate, and that comes from the government. And you have to remember that before NAFTA, we were told it was going to create jobs. So this one, they're admitting that we're going to lose 159,000 jobs. It's a big deal. Colombia leads the world. The whole world combined did not have as many trade unionists killed, murdered in the street than Colombia this last year. The current arrangement with Colombia, they get reviewed once a year. It should be left that way. We don't need a new agreement with Colombia.
So what we heard is that the chamber has so many Republican votes in the House that they released the Democrats on Colombia. And so the Democrats are going to say, oh, well, I voted against Colombia. What do you want? I'm going to vote for Korea.
That's right. That's right. And they're going to play around with trade assistance and all kinds of things. There's a million excuses they can make. If they offshore our work to South Korea, it will never come back. And I don't know how they win elections in the Midwest. I don't know how there's a lot of manufacturing left, and it needs to be protected.
And can we say that George Bush couldn't get this done? He couldn't pass. He wrote the Korea Free Trade Bill, and he couldn't pass it. So Obama's going to pass it.
Right. Just how he couldn't weaken the smog regulations to the degree that Obama did. Like Bush didn't withdraw regulations, and that's what Obama does. But your point about South Korea and Colombia brings up the point of like this nationalist conflict that we always have, and we're having right now between Saudi Arabia and Canadian tar sands oil. So I think that reflects how this movement is uniting, because we see in trade deals, or we see in oil, or we see in finance. All of these issues are uniting against like the same corporatist elite. So the same ones that ship the job overseas collude to keep, Anwar open for drilling and allowing BP to not repay its debts to the Gulf of Mexico residents. So it's about, I think this is incredible that it's finding a united front.
That's right.
Yeah. And it feels really great to be here.
Delighted to shake the hand of a machinist. Yeah, when we make the steel, you bag it into useful things. That's right.
What's your name again? Kevin Gastola.
This is Kevin Gastola. Kevin has been live blogging on Wall Street since day one. And John Walker, who also writes for Fire Dog Lakes. This is Alex and Tyler. And I'm sorry, hi Becky, I'm Shane. How are you? And so John actually, so what do you had some questions about the machinists?
So if the Democrats actually manage, and President Obama actually manages to push through these trade deals, how's that going to affect your guys' decision when it comes to 2012?
The machinist.
Well, you want to talk about it on two levels. One level is that we have a very democratic union that looks at endorsements one person at a time. We look at their voting records. And it isn't just sort of a, 1 through 10 and 100%. Some issues matter a lot to us. Trade is a big deal to us. Protecting our labor rights, the National Labor Relations Board, those are big deals to us. We're going to look at those both seriously in the endorsement process. The other thing, the other sort of whole area you have to look at is motivating people. In the last election cycle, we were able to effectively communicate with 87% of our members during the 2008 election. In terms of people feeling like they have a stake to get out and get involved and help with the campaign and get out to the polls, it's going to be very, very, very difficult if one more time our jobs are shipped overseas. And for us, it's real. Plants close. People get laid off in hundreds. They have to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. And in this economy, walking out of a plant that's closing has just got to be, it's essentially the death penalty for a worker.
Yeah, so, if someone in Congress takes this vote, is that going to be crossing the Rubicon for you guys? Can they not be supported after doing something like that?
It's a big deal to us. It's a big deal to us. Here's the thing. Because we are Democratic, I will not tell you that it's an across-the-board thing. But what I will tell you is that we will pick and choose. And there will be some primary challenges. But
Really? So you plan to primaries when people do?
We did. I'm just looking back at our experience after NAFTA. What ended up happening is in the state councils of our union, people arrived at conclusions that they need to do something about it.
Well, there's time to get primary opponents on the ballot before the 2012 election. Are you going to be looking into that?
Oh, you bet. I mean, if you look at after NAFTA, Hilda Solis, our Secretary of Labor, she was the challenger for a guy named Marty Martinez. Marty Martinez, got big time help from the Machinists Union when he was first elected. Yeah, he decided NAFTA was a good thing to do. He got a challenger, and he's no longer a congressman. I don't know. We'll see what our state councils arrive at, but we almost certainly will be out there in some primaries. It's just, I want to recognize the democratic right of our members in each state to decide how we do that and where we do that.
So that's some headline news. So we're here at Freedom Plaza in Washington, D.C., and Matt McKinnon, the political director of the Machinists Union, says they will be primarying some Democrats selectively based on their vote to offshore more jobs next week.
Yep. Well, it's good to see people standing up because we cannot afford to keep losing more and more jobs. And the most amazing thing to me right now is we have two bills. We got the currency manipulation bill with China that Obama's pushing against, despite the fact that it creates 2 million jobs here. Then we got the free trade deals that would destroy about 100,000 jobs, and that's the one he's behind.
Yep. And it's senseless. We put money into stimulating jobs, and the money flows through, bleeds out to China, and it bleeds out in our purchasing power, but it also bleeds out because we don't have true Buy America for public works. Yeah. And if we're going to have public works, we ought to spend the money not just buying the materials to build a road or a train bed, but the machinery that does the work, put manufacturing workers back to work. There seems to be some disconnect there. The underlying question is whether or not we're going to deal with currency manipulators. I mean, China has done it. South Korea used to do it. This year, Japan's done it twice. And Switzerland did it a couple of weeks ago. So currency manipulation is going to become one of the new tactics to steal jobs from one country to another. So it's somewhere along the line we have to arrive at a decision in this country that our government deals with trade issues, which are dynamic. deals with trade issues in the interests of the American people, not in the interests of a global multinational. You know, global multinationals talk to Congress people. They tell them there's going to be a new market in this place or that place. There may be a new market, but what they don't tell the congressperson is that the production for that new market isn't going to be in the United States. There's no guarantee of that, and they don't tell that rest of the story.
Why don't they tell the story about $140 trillion in commercial debt to the Federal Reserve?
We worked very hard to actually get audit the Fed passed, and
that costs us 40 cents on the dollar every time we take $1 up on borrowing.
Right.
And we're not paying taxes if we sure are paying interest. Most of those Federal Reserve bank owners are in Europe, not in China.
Absolutely.
Only one Asian country has a seat in the Federal Reserve, that's Japan.
So anyway, so I know you probably are unlikely to call out specific members of Congress, but let's say, are there places in the country where you feel you've got a lot of members that, you know, should be responsive to this in their states? How about that?
Well, what I can tell you is we're very, very large in Washington State. I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed in what we're seeing there.
Do you have a lot of people at Boeing there?
We have I would imagine 50 or 60,000
Wow.
members in Washington State.
My wife and I actually were neighbors. We grew up in the same neighborhood, and I took gymnastics with her sisters. So Boeing, you would think, would be, you know, the machinists would be really big in Washington State.
Yeah. Boeing and Weyerhaeuser.
Yep.
So,
Aerospace Defense Company.
Yep. So
one of the reasons that we're at boards like this.
Yep.
So out against the aerospace defense industry?
You know, I was an economic conversion organizer in my union for many, many, many years. And
I'm talking about the war machine, the merchants of war. The war machine. We just dropped $1 billion worth of 30,000 bombs, killed 60,000 people in Libya over the last 3 months.
If you'd like to hear my answer, I'd be happy to
sorry,
give
go
it.
ahead, sir.
I and our union, way back in the 70s, was very, very clear that defense production is not the best production for workers. We led an economic conversion movement in this country. We led it. We led it by talking to our members first. And what happened in 1990 when the Cold War ended is that everybody in the peace movement that was involved with economic conversion split and said, we're for schools, we're for this, we're for health care, and nobody was standing up for the actual conversion that has to happen. So if we ever get down that road again, we'll be powerful allies, but what's going to happen is there's going to have to be a real plan for conversion of those technologies. There's going to have to be a real plan for those workers. We're not going to lead ourselves into being deserted. But check your history.
Yeah.
I went in and out of plants like General Dynamics and worked with workers about what our future would best look like. So when that
Did you speak out against the war in Libya?
I actually had objection to it. I have objection to Iraq. But understand that among all of us, there are things that we are strong about, and there are other things that we're not.
Do you know about this guy?
I don't.
And that's impressive that we're actually here talking about labor subjects. So thank you. No, it's okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate your help.
This guy
Okay.
laundered $6 million through the Bank of New York.
Yep. So what are you finding here, Kevin?
Well, this guy's the head of Peaceful Uprising.
Oh, fantastic. What's your name?
Well, just director. That means if something goes wrong, it's my fault.
Aha.
My name's actually Anderson.
Oh, fantastic. So I hear you got a lot of veterans here.
Well, this is the guy with Tim DeChristopher's.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant we're doing your work here. People. Okay.
Major environmental activist.
Fantastic.
He's a tar sander like you.
Yay! I was arrested.
Yeah. So we were talking here because over at Fire Dog Lake, I put up that interview with Tim DeChristopher
Right.
at Roots. We were just talking, and that's like that's one of the last, I think, major interviews where I got to see Tim DeChristopher talking before he ended up, he had the sentencing, and then he ended up in jail. So, and it was a very powerful interview because, as I was telling he started to give me some really good material about how activists are being singled out by the Obama administration. And then, rolled up into my coverage of Tim DeChristopher, I added, Lieutenant Dan Choi, and a couple other people who have been, called out just because they're being and certainly in the environmental movement, there's always been some people who've been targeted with the FBI wanting to give particular attention to the environmental movement.
So I have a question. This is Alex and Tyler. They were our fellow arrestees with the tar sands, and you're with Tim DeChristopher. So Van Jones had an event yesterday where he wants to be the leader of the Occupy Wall Street movement. How do you feel Van Jones has been about putting himself on the line over environmental issues? See, I don't remember him at the tar sands event, so I was just going to ask.
There's no leader, so anybody who wants to put themselves out the front as a leader is nonsense. Van Jones is great. He can join the activists and be one of them and put a voice out. But if his agenda is to push people to the Democratic Party, then he's going to be very disappointed, because these aren't people that are looking out to join a party that's an entrenched system. We're talking about revolution here. We're not talking about parties. So if Van wants to tear up his card that he belongs to the Democratic Party, then I think that would give him a lot more street cred here. But I love him. I love the guy.
Has he done anything on Tim DeChristopher?
No, he won't.
Right, exactly. So, do you remember? Have you heard him? He wasn't exactly. I think that was I heard, and I don't.
I actually got a Van Jones hug on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I told him I was arrested on day one with Bill McKibben. He said, "I love Bill. He's my mentor," and he gave me a big hug. And I have to say that felt kind of nice. I like the guy, but I'm very disturbed when I find him shilling for things like the jobs bill, which I don't think is much of a jobs bill. And whenever it does seem like, yes, he's like an arm of the Democratic Party. By the same token, I know enough about our climate war. I knew how vital it was for the bad guys to take him out. And they took him out big time, and the Obama administration did nothing. They threw him under the bus right away.
I was very upset about that.
Right. So, I would like to see, Van move more to the left, and I think, possibly by us moving more to the left, we can do that. But I like him, although, like I say, I'm very concerned whenever he shills for the Democratic Party.
I actually don't think it's moved to the left. I mean, I think he did not respond to McKibben and the tar sands people request that he show up there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
So I mean, Wendell Berry signed the letter from his place. He didn't come to the actual event. I talked to him a few weeks prior to the actual action, and he said, I really support it, our land is getting tore up, etc., but I'm not going to come to it, but I really wanted to express my solidarity. So Van Jones could have done the exact same thing. But the problem is that I think he's trying to be kind of a middleman in between, like, a radical left and supposed standard Democrat, and I don't think he accepts the premise that, from what I heard from your rhetoric, is that the two-party system is an illusion of choice.
Right.
It's not this it's not an every 4-year kind of democratic responsibility anymore. It's this masquerade, this shadow, the smoke screen of democracy that hides the plutocracy, that hides the oligarchy beneath the substance. And when you said revolution, I've been hesitant to use that word because it just symbolizes this radical thing in my mind that look at the people in Syria, look at the people in Bahrain, they're getting killed every day, and they're undergoing a revolution from dictatorships to democracy, as Gene Sharp says. But Cornel West talked in Wall Street, and one of his big quotes was to, "Don't be afraid to use the word revolution." And they were like, "Why?" And he's like, "This is a radical transformation of ideals. I mean, this is about a people's assembly. This is about people controlling our resources, our workplaces, our schools, our hospitals, etc." And so, in the definition, I think that this is very important to start to understand that this is indeed a revolution of ideals, of practice, of citizenry, etc.
Well, when I think
Van doesn't get that.
Can I say something about leaders real quick? Because a lot of groups are jumping on to this Wall Street thing. They're jumping on to this Occupy DC thing. And what we're finding is that it's the same thing as it always is. The people go out there and they put their necks on the line, not knowing if things are going to go okay for them. They do something scary, and everyone watches them. And in rush the leaders to say, we've got this. This is amazing, and this is under control. But it's not going to go down this time. If you hung back and you held your cards close to your chest before, and this is happening now, you're welcome back in. But you don't get to call yourself a leader. You just get to join it.
Well, I think of leaders as Tim DeChristopher, who puts his ass on the line. That's the kind of leadership I want.
You're willing to make sacrifices.
I respect Bill McKibben, who's putting together, got us arrested, right? I mean, I'm going to join him, and I'm sure you are too, in surrounding the White House on November 6th, arms around the White House. That's what I respect as someone who's willing to go to jail. The person who doesn't respond because they don't want to take the political heat is not a leader. That's an opportunist.
As long as we keep responding realistically, the leaders, the people with clout and connections will spill in right behind us. We just got to keep moving that direction,
Exactly.
I mean, you just have to
do you remember Nelson Mandela, the guy who went to jail, or the guy who went, oh, sorry, I don't want to be associated with that. I'm going to keep my powder dry.
Right. The thing about Tim de Christopher being a true leader is what the rhetoric of Van, and not to dichotomize this because you need people like Van. I mean, you need all levels of people. You don't want to critique your fellow proletariat or whatever to represent that.
I will actually argue with that because you've got a damaged democratic brand that is not represented the people, and if they start trying to co-opt the energy and the opposition is able to demonize the movement by making them wear all the bad brands of the Democratic Party, it actually weakens it. So I think you have to be very careful to say this is not us. We didn't do this and we don't approve.
I agree with that point. To elaborate on the thing of Tim and Van talks about how he represents something, like he is delegated as some kind of speaker or voice, whereas Tim, when he talked to people, he would say the people need to do this. The people are empowered to do this. He talked about mountaintop removal and activism, and he said at Power Shift, 30 people need to go out and put themselves on a hold, and 30 people after that, and 30 people after that, and it was about people actually controlling the movement, not leaders.
And I asked him the other day, I said, have you seen all these petitions to get you pardoned, And he said, if Obama's going to use that kind of political capital, I would rather he not free one man, but to save my generation from extinction. That he doesn't even want.
Wow.
He wants Obama to use his power if he has any for everyone else. He wants to be joined in prison. Yeah. That's why. And talking to him and hearing that he's okay and things are okay, I don't care anymore. If I get treason or whatever might come my way, if I'm out there speaking the truth, we have to get rid of Congress. We have to take that building wherever it is. We have to take that building over. We need to be dancing on the roof of that building. And when we do that, we've written our own laws, and there's something to do here that will be someday etched into this stone, along with all those other things, and finish off the American Revolution. We can say it started with being empowered and not being afraid whatsoever of going out and getting the actual solutions that we need.
So last night Ed Schultz said that this was the beginning of the Obama campaign 2012, and this energy is here for Obama. Are you seeing evidence of that?
I think that's laughable. No, I'm not.
Energy for Obama?
In a way. No, not at all. I mean, I think there's a lot of remorse that people who supported him, but and occasionally I get some mealy-mouthed, we need him for Supreme Court nominees, but most of what I'm seeing is that people are completely fed up with Obama, as I am, and I'm tired of being sort of terrorized into voting for Obama because of some Republican monsters. I'm not going to vote for Obama. I'm sorry. There's no difference between him and Romney. I mean, it seems the same thing. And I'm hoping that what's happening now is a teaching moment, that people are waking up and seeing that these two parties are effectively the same.
And some people already understood that. I mean, I think one of Chomsky's good quotes is that, I'm not surprised whatsoever by the Obama presidency. I looked at his website, I read his rhetoric, I looked at his campaign donations, and 1/3 of his money in the 2008 election came from the financial industry. He got more money from BP than any other politician in history. I mean, if you look at his record, you're not very surprised.
It's true. So, how are ya? I'm Jane. Hi, Jody. So Jody is married to Mike McKinnon from the Machinists Union, and I happened to grow up down the street from Jody, and I went to gymnastics with her sisters when we were growing up. Yeah, Ellen was a year younger than me, and Carol was a year older.
Oh, wow.
And we used to go to SPC for gymnastics.
Oh, yeah, we sure did. That's hilarious. What a small world.
Yeah, they were great vaulters.
Yeah.
Really powerful vaulters. We all went to Roosevelt.
That's right, I did too.
You went to Roosevelt too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I graduated.
So what do you do now?
Right now, I got laid off from my job, so I'm unemployed right now.
Wow. So you decided to come down here today and support the team.
Yeah. I was really excited about coming to support the Wall Street Occupy people. Ever since they started occupying Wall Street, I've just been like, Matt, we've got to go up there. We've got to go. This is too good to be true. And
well, I think we should stroll around the crowd. What do you think, John Walker?
Let's have a look around.
Let's have a look around. You want to have a look around? We're going to have a look around. So, Kevin, if you want to interview anybody, just stop and ask them questions.
Right. and I've been hearing some things from the stage, not too much. I guess I'll just, I want people to keep paying attention to this live stream. But if somebody,
I'm going to move around to the side so I get the there we go, yeah.
I want people to pay attention to this live stream because we're doing great interviews. But if you find that you want to come back and watch this video later, I do know that October 2011 has their live stream. I believe they probably got the stage. So just to let people know that we are considering the fact that some people may want to know what the speakers are saying.
Yes, and they do, and that's why they do have a live stream. It's October2011.org.
It's in the live blog. I put a link in it.
Oh, fantastic!
So we're here, and let's find some people to talk to. Same kind of people that we've been talking to back there, just activists or regular Americans that came out and they wanted to be in the plaza. Let's see here.
Our fellow Tarzans arrestees are here.
Yeah, there's all sorts of people and lots of media. If you, I don't know if Jane can capture the satellites over in the distance.
Oh yeah.
But these people have actually managed to get a lot of media to come down and follow them. And in fact, it looks like in the center, in the back here, this might be something that we want to go look at.
All right.
Because they've got a little shanty town that they've put up.
Oh, wow, so there's a shanty town. All right, we're going to go to the shanty town.
And we haven't visited this part of Freedom Plaza yet.
Nope.
So for those of you who are just tuning in, we've been over on the side of Freedom Plaza that's closest to the Capitol building. And now we're going to go over and we're going to check out the shanty town.
Want anything to drink? I will bring for drinks. If John Blocker actually the cameraman.
There's something. Okay.
All right.
So let's go do this way. It looks like we've got people out here painting, erecting the shanty town. So, John, if you want to let our audience see what's happening here. Now we'll find somebody who's not too busy and maybe wants to talk to us about what we're putting together. Without walking in front of, there's lots of cameras over here. They're capturing the shanty town. I'm going to go find... Is there any one of you that might want to talk about what you're doing here? I'm with Fire Dog Lake, and we're streaming live, and we're trying to show our audience what is happening in the middle of this Freedom Plaza. Do you have anybody on the other side?
This is one that comes close to the
Okay. Well, we'll hover around and just give people a little bit of a look. But you guys are, I'll just ask, you're building, basically, this is your shanty town that you're putting together? All right. I mean, it's relatively self-explanatory. I mean, most people, this says housing needs, not corporate greed. The top of this one says disturb the stagnation. Down here it says open your eyes, your hearts, open your minds. So we've got messages written on here, and artistic. Some of the rooftops have designs on them, and it's really great. And so that looks like an apartment complex, and it looks like the entire thing has been foreclosed on. It's got a huge for sale sign on it, and so that's our shanty town.
We're not here arguing with no police.
And I think they're going to try to keep the shanty town up for the entire event. So that's something to think about because later in the night, as people stay here in the plaza, I think that might be something they'll have to address, whether they want to keep it up or not. So this could be a point of conflict.
Let's see if we can find someone else.
So let's come over here and just let people see, have a quick look at these corporations that they've put up here. And got a list of...
Thank you.
And I'm going to try to Thank you. And I'll try to read it to you because they've written a description at the top. So, we the corporations transcending the bondage of nations in order to protect us from the people, ensure our right to extract and exploit, provide the defense of profit with impunity, and secure the blessings of wealth and privilege for those who have it already, do ordain and appropriate this Constitution of the United States of America. And we've got different corporations who you might be familiar with, like Bank of America, Chase, TransCanada, Goldman Sachs, Peabody, Amazon.com's on here, Murray Energy, Boeing, General Electric, Marlboro, ExxonMobil is down here, Enron's on the left, and they've got their general message: human needs, not corporate greed. That is messaging. That is what the corporate media has been asking Occupy Wall Street to have. And I think Occupy Wall Street does have messaging. They say we are the 99%. But this is more concrete messaging. This contains a demand, and this is what this organizing here in Freedom Plaza is about: is addressing human needs instead of corporate greed.
Very cool. I think I saw some Code. Oh, there's Medea. And I think Jody's over here too from Code Pink.
We came by here already. This is the other side of Shantytown.
Yeah.
And more designs. And this is Code Pink.
Right.
Hanging out. It looks like a lot of Code Pinkers are involved in putting together the Shantytown.
Right.
This is a really nice. As far as the Shantytown goes, I don't know if you'd be afraid to move in there. I wonder. I mean, this looks pretty nice compared to the other ones I've been seeing. These are foreclosed homes, and they're not really doing well. So we'll see how they make that into. They're probably still transforming that into the sort of. So you can see that the homes have been foreclosed. This is their message. War now. Big pink banner.
Yes.
Lots of Code Pinkers over here. Lots of people over here. And Code Pink is.
I can totally get a photo of
Not sure what exactly they're doing. And why. And let's see, who can we talk to?
Have you seen Margaret?
Last time I saw Margaret, they tend to be over there.
All right, well, let's go see if we can find Margaret then.
Yeah, we'll find Margaret. Who with Kevin Zeese has, of course, been key lead organizers in putting this together. So the difference between October 2011 and what you've been seeing unfold with the Occupy Together movement is this isn't as spontaneous as what has happened in the last month here.
Yeah.
So we're going to see whether that becomes something that impacts how they organize or not, or whether they're actually able to tap into the energy of Occupy USA or Occupy Together and use that to keep their Freedom Plaza occupation strong.
Now, are they still organizing? I heard that they're still up at
McPherson.
Are they still up there?
I went up to McPherson. I didn't see anybody.
Okay, so they didn't come down here.
I think they all came down here.
All right. Well, that makes sense. It's going to be.
McPherson is only about 3 blocks from here, so.
Yeah. Although I did like the concept of Occupy K Street.
Yeah. you know, it really is the nexus of.
And like Zuccotti Park, like Liberty Park, we've got tents that are set up with stations. So here's our first aid station,
Right.
and that, of course, is I think one of the things I've seen is people are running around with suntan lotion and water bottles to make sure that people are staying hydrated, are also not passing out from heat exhaustion and everything like that. So we're getting closer to the stage, which is why it's hard to hear me.
Yep.
Manifest Destiny's child. Surely among the hundreds of thousands or more innocent civilians dead.
If you're just tuning in, we're trying to find Margaret Flowers. And
Margaret is a friend of the blog. She's written for us, and we worked for her with PNHP many times, and she's one of the organizers behind this.
For what?
Yeah. Oh, there she is, Margaret. I'm good. How are you? This is Margaret Flowers. She's one of the organizers. We're live streaming. This is awesome. I'm sure.
Go west the yacht and launch it out. The sun shines bright from the new sail. We shall sail this street down Old Wall Street. Millionaires are coming soon. As long as Uncle Sam bails, the sharks will swim big as whales. The wheel of fortune is striking 12, when giants will rule over a world of elves. We shall take our thrones and cue our drones. Trillionaires are coming soon.
So how's
We are just too big. Sorry, we're just too big to fail. Just try to stick us in jail. We've hedged our bets and we're waxing bold. Uncle Sammy's gilding our golden road as we fill our banks with a federal load. Trillionaires are coming soon. The sun will cast golden rays as long as taxpayers pay. Go ask the yacht and launch it out. The sun shines bright from the new bailout. We shall sail the street down Old Wall Street. Trillionaires are coming soon.
Yay! We'll catch you again in a couple of days, and I know you'll have it down perfectly.
I've been trying.
All right. So Margaret Flowers is one of the organizers here, and Kevin, do you want to talk to Margaret about how things are going? Step in.
Right.
We're going to get sound, so stay close.
And so you've been here since what time this morning?
I got here at 7.
Wow.
We were here till late last night.
You came out late at night and was
We started getting some up. We have some assembly down here to go over what's happening the next day.
And what is happening right now? People are hearing people speak on the stage, and what's the plan for the afternoon?
Well, today is a little bit of a different day from the way the rest of us is going to go. We really wanted this to be a gathering and a celebratory day and really make a statement of why we're here to fight corporatism and militarism. So our rally this afternoon is really focused on corporatism. We have advocates for poverty groups and environmental groups, others. From this rally, we're going to head out and march up to Main Street. We're going to the Chamber of Commerce to make our voices heard there. And then we'll be heading up to K Street. And during rush hour, we hope to be along K Street and have a lot of visibility going on there. And then we'll march on back for our evening program, which will focus on the war in Afghanistan.
So Margaret, I want to introduce you to Mike McKinnon. He's Matt McKinnon. Why am I doing this? He's the political director of the Machinists, and he's been up on the Hill lobbying because they're going to try and pass the free trade agreements and offshore jobs as a jobs bill next week.
I know.
So is that's what it's
like, I mean, this is an everyday occurrence.
Sorry, just because of sound, I have to have people close together.
This is like, I hear almost every day some atrocity that's going on, and we can't fight in isolation. You guys, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to make them block that free trade agreement. We have to go at the root, which is the corporate control of our political process.
That's right. That's right. We have a massive redistribution of wealth to the 1% that's happened in this country, and you know, one of the few ways out is we could manufacture, and they're giving away the manufacturing base, and it's, you know, we're out of alternatives here, folks, and you know, next week they're going to vote on, you know, a South Korea agreement that they admit will lose jobs. Before NAFTA, they said it would create jobs. Now they're even admitting it's going to lose jobs. It's desperation, and it's a multinational corporate agenda that has nothing to do with moving production to this
the Chamber of Commerce, and that's what the march is going to be tonight, right?
And Wall Street runs the White House, which runs the leadership in Congress, and Wall Street runs the Supreme Court, and our political process is just completely broken, and we're not, you know, we're not going to see the changes that we need, but we have the resources in this country, and people need to understand that we have solutions to every crisis. We have the resources to address what's going on, but it's not going to come from there. It has to come from us.
We're going to have to stand together,
absolutely,
and it's going to have to, you know, people are going to have to understand that this is mainstream. My wife's out of work. My son's out of work. You know, America's out of work.
But
the American story.
But the machinists are supporting the occupations in different cities around the country, aren't
they? All over.
That's great. We appreciate your support. Look forward to working with you.
You bet.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, what can you say? Because, you know, our audience has been following closely Occupy Wall Street, and a lot of what I've been doing is tracking all the different occupations that are popping up all over the country. And, you know, this was planned,
right?
But it's really a nice turn of events that you can benefit from all this people power across the country.
Absolutely. It's a really exciting time. We never anticipated this when we started talking about organizing this months and months ago. I think our challenge now is a couple of things. It's hopefully that we don't see institutions like the Democratic Party come in and co-opt.
Oh, you mean you're not excited about Van Jones taking over the leadership of Occupy Wall Street?
As a success of that movement, but I think I'm encouraged from talking to some of the people up there that hopefully they aren't going to let that happen. But
Joan Walsh actually had a good article. It was what happens when a movement without leaders meet leaders without a movement.
Oh, that's great!
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw today, but Obama said the bankers did nothing wrong. They didn't break any laws. They just exploited loopholes, and it's like but like they broke so many laws. Like there was like thousands and thousands of fraudulent documents, or like they've gone through, and like it was signed in like the wrong colored pen, and like there's just no way of refuting that like fraud took place. It's just like, you know, it just shows you the sad state of affairs. And even Ben Bernanke sounds like he's more sympathetic to the problem than the President of the United States is.
They know that they have power. The top 1%, the top 400 people have the wealth of 154 million of us. You know, they kind of have us on their, around their pinkies, and so they're just very blatant about it.
So we're live broadcasting on right now on the front page of FDL. And if people are thinking of coming down here, what would you say? Are there, turnout good? Are there going to be any, hurdles, places for them to stay? What are you anticipating?
We're planning on staying here tonight. The Park Police, we have not told them that we're sleeping here, but they're pretty aware.
They're watching.
Right,
they probably got your phones tapped.
Oh yeah, I had people watching my house yesterday.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. I came home from running some errands to pack up to come down, and there was a car parked right across from my driveway on the street with the motor running. 2 people sitting in it, and they just stayed there, literally watching my house. And when we packed up the whole car, and we backed down the driveway, and we waved, and they waved, and we drove off, and they drove off.
Oh, Margaret.
So, that's not scaring us. I think that my house has probably been tapped for a while. I'm sure our phone lines from all our customers.
Absolutely.
I'm sure we've been infiltrated. We take that for granted, but we're not going to be daunted. This is too important. This is about ending what's happening in this country, which is completely unacceptable. We're going in the wrong direction. It doesn't have to be this way. We can meet our human needs. We have to start telling the truth and start talking to each other. This is a real beginning. It's a very exciting beginning, and I think people should come down here because there's a lot of ways to plug in.
We're going to be have some people that are teaching classes. They can teach a class or take a class.
Awesome.
Every morning we have the classes are going to be about the issues that are going on, the solutions to them, and the tools that we need to change things.
Kevin can teach you how to live blog from wherever you are.
Excellent. Well,
Be the media. The Kevin got forward. Exactly.
Building an independent movement and independent media. So, like you, that's so important. Hold corporate media accountable. We never even went to corporate media until the very week or so before this started, because we knew that they would just try to undermine us, and now they can't because there's too many eyes.
I know. It's so good.
So that's fantastic. We've got 15 committees going on, one for each issue that we've identified on the website. Things like housing, healthcare, jobs, human rights, education. We'll be meeting every day from 3 to 5. Those committees will be presenting what they're talking about to the evening assembly. That's going to be live streamed, so people, if they can't be here, although I recommend it because the energy is just...
It is. It's really great.
Smiling or crying.
I know.
So people can participate from around the country and give us their input. By the end of this, we're going to have identified specific steps that we want to take moving forward. But this is a really exciting time, so please be part of it. Get it on the ground floor.
Exactly.
I mean, what I'd say to this story of you being followed is that in my coverage, I know any number of ways that the security state could come down on us as a people. And I would say that shouldn't stop any of us from coming out, because it's my belief that the more people that are out here, the harder it is for them to use the security state against all of us. And so, I've heard, because people are planning back in Chicago to have a response, to have permitted marches when the NATO G8 happens on May 12th. And that's a long ways away. But one of the things I've already gotten pushback on is that, well, those people are going to be infiltrated, there's going to be provocateurs, there's going to be the police, there's going to be force, there's all these sort of riot control technologies that are going to be used against them. Absolutely, but that's why we need to be out there, because that's intolerable. That's not something we should tolerate.
Right, exactly. I agree with 100%. We've taken it for granted. That's why we have our peacekeepers.
All right, you have peacekeepers here.
Yeah, they've done training. The veterans and other people who are trained in nonviolence are wearing the peacekeeper shirts. They're going to be identifying people that are trying to provoke aggression or violence and trying to de-escalate that, isolate them. So we're prepared for that to happen. We've got people observers watching. We've got police cameras everywhere, all these cameras, keeping an eye on what's going on. When I was at Occupy Wall Street on the first day, as I was going to my car, we saw 2 undercover police officers come out of an unmarked car, but there was a police officer in uniform behind the wheel, and it was parked right behind the police car. So I shot photos of them, and then as we were driving along Chicago Park, I just was shooting more photos of the park. Didn't realize until I got home that I caught those undercover cops on film going into the park.
Oh, I want to see the photos.
Facebook page.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So, I mean, that's normal procedure.
Right.
But we're not going to, that's not going to, it can't stop us. If it stops us, we're done. Give up. Go home. Move somewhere else. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I have a sort of involved question.